very happy right now. Okay, leaving Los Santos de Maimona and going to La Almazara, which is 9K from here. So, feeling great without pain. This is incredible. It's a beautiful morning. The weather is perfect and there is sun, lots of birds. Follow the yellow arrow, follow the yellow arrow, follow, 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 follow the yellow arrow. While the first kilometers of the stage felt like a warm-up, after Los Santos I start seeing more open olive groves and vineyards. I also saw a few farm animals here and there, and of course I could hear lots of birds. Over 30 years ago, a good friend introduced me to a running route in the town where I lived. It started close to my home and connected my town with a nearby one. I became obsessed with that loop. That's where I first developed any real running skills. It had a few rolling hills and just the right challenges at the right moments. After a few kilometers on the paved road, you could turn onto a dirt road that led back to the main square. This was before smartphones or smartwatches. I didn't even know the loop's exact distance, but the numbers were never the point. On many of those runs, everything just clicked. Time seemed to fade as my mind settled into a perfect place, focused entirely on that moment of being there. Not just staying alive, but being alive. I loved that feeling. Your existence not being defined by any achievement or recent event, Hepper said, just by the simple fact of being complete right there, aware, present, and totally focused on the miracle of being human. Fast forward 30 years, I'm in a different country, in a city with a strong running culture, home to one of the world's major marathons. I hadn't run consistently or at all for more than a decade, but being there made me want to reconnect with it. One night, I was watching an inspiring video about one of the most famous trail ultramarathons in the world, the UTMB. At one point, the runner briefly described the exact same feeling I had experienced decades earlier on that small loop. That's when I realized it had a name. It happens in running and in many other activities. It's called flow state. On this day, after Los Santos, it happened again. Something clicked. I was fully absorbed in the moment, walking with focus and energy as time seemed to vanish, leaving only the feeling of pure presence. I walked like that for quite a while, almost all the way to the albergue. I enjoyed what I thought was a beautiful stage. It wasn't an introspective day. I was simply walking and looking around. Since I knew it wouldn't be a long day, I took my time, taking many photos and noticing interesting things in all directions. And the feeling of a short day came from how I planned this whole Camino. When I first started looking at the Via de la Plata, I saw that most people walked around 20 kilometers a day. Considering my fitness level at the time and the distance of the route, I originally thought I would need about 6 days to finish without pressure. But I only had 42 days available, so I worked with that. Before leaving, I trained to see if my body could handle some longer days, around 40 kilometers. It could, barely. So I decided to go ahead. I knew I would get more tired as I got closer to Santiago, but I also expected to get fitter and lose some weight along the way, so I hoped it would balance out. And even though 20 kilometers felt like a light day compared to some other days of my journey, it was still more than I had ever walked at once before the Camino. My longest hike ever had been about 13 kilometers in the same town where that old running loop was. I only know that distance now thanks to one of the friends I reconnect with after decades when I visited there in 2024. I think it felt lighter not only because of some training I had done beforehand, of course, but also because I already had a few days of the journey behind me. I was getting used to walking, and I didn't have the same concerns I had on day one, when everything felt new and a bit overwhelming. I first noticed I was more at ease 2 days earlier when I reached Zafra. Even though my in-laws were getting updates through my wife, that was the first time I felt relaxed enough to contact my own family directly. So I walked happily and relaxed until the albergue. Everything was fine. It was sunny, the temperature was great, and I wore only one layer. I was still limping a little, but it didn't bother me. It was comfortable all the way, and I didn't see time go by. I hadn't planned to finish my stage at the albergue. Villafranca was close enough to reach, and I had already taken a full rest day in Zafra, so I wanted to keep going. It would be nice to have a break there, but perfectly fine to continue as well. I arrived in high spirits. The albergue was a restored building that had originally been an olive oil mill. I thought I would take a break if I saw any activity, but it seemed closed. I didn't check and proceeded instead. And the landscape continued to impress me, making the walk very pleasant. Hello, 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 hello. Oh, ay, que va paixão. When I arrived in Villafranca, I hadn't booked anything in advance, contrary to my new plan from a few days earlier. I want to see how I would feel on arrival before deciding whether to return to an albergue. I was tired but not exhausted, and although I had no pain, I was limping a little. It was my third day on anti-inflammatory medication, and I had taken a rest day in Zafra. In the end, I decided to book a different place, realizing I still need more time to recover. But all of this was just the details of my arrival. It was definitely, well, also a remarkable day.